Hi, this is April Wells with So Darn Cute Quilting. I'm getting started on my custom quilt. It's on the frame, it's been basted. There are some basting videos on my story on Instagram if you want to check those out. But what I'm doing now is I'm to the point where I am going to start in the middle and I'm going to stitch in the ditch around these curved pieces and also stitch in the ditch around the major different parts of the square. So as you see here, I would go around this square here and then I would stitch in the ditch all the way around the whole square here, and then again this square here in each one of these squares. I am not going to stitch in the ditch right here along this seam because it really wouldn't be noticed unless I stitched it in the ditch with the thread that I'm using, which is cream, and it's not really necessary. Some people say you want to stitch every single ditch. You can. It does help the quilt to lay down a little bit flatter, but I think that I'm going to, this is just going to be good to have a stitch around right here and these little points here. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've cleaned my workstation, I've cleaned and oiled my long arm, I've cleaned the table, and now I've got a few different tools that I can use to follow whenever I am following this line right here. So I'm just trying to find the tool that's going to work the best, you know, and neither one of those are it. Sometimes even just using a straight one and bending it while you're stitching works the best. Sometimes having something that's a little bit curved that you can kind of manipulate around it, you know, works the best. So I'm going to try this one first, and then if it doesn't work very well, we're going to move on to a different type of ruler. So there are also rulers that have notches in them that you can use to do that as well. This is one right here that I have from Quilter's Apothecary, and you would just, you know, use it like this. But I find that it's more difficult to see where I'm at with using this ruler. So we're going to just go ahead and do some ditching right here. And I am using, for thread, So Fine. It is the number 402. It's kind of a creamy color. So here we go. So that's real easy to do that. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to get these straight edges. And the thread that I'm using, the So Fine, you can go over your same lines a couple of times. And it's not really going to be that big of a deal because it's not a real heavy thread. It's more of a lightweight thread. It is a polyester. It's not a cotton thread. But it works really well. I have very minimal amount of thread breaks whenever it comes to using So Fine, and that's really my favorite part. find that when I use some other threads or I try to save money on thread, that I end up with a lot of thread breaks. Sometimes it's just easier to do this without a ruler. Go over here and catch this. Okay, so this one is done, and I'm going to go through for each one, and I'm going to do the same thing to each one of them. Now, what stitching in the ditch does for me is it helps me kind of look at the different fabrics and see some of the different motifs. Here we have letters and we have flowers. Out here there's more of a floral leafy design. All of the prints in this fabric, in this quilt, are more free-flowing, so it's definitely going to be heavy feathered on the borders, and I believe I'm going to have the feathers kind of like overlap into the other borders. So that's where my thinking process is going so far, and while I'm doing the stitch in the ditch on this center part, it kind of helps me get a feel for the quilt and kind of helps some ideas come into my head, and I can kind of decide what motifs I want to use, what style I want to use, and you know how big the feathers should be, and all of those things that come with custom quilting. So I'm going to keep stitching in the ditch, and I'll get back with you guys on another video once I'm done with this center area.